I stood in the doorway of what used to be our apartment, watching Hailey pack the last of her things into cardboard boxes. 3 years of our life together, reduced to 6 boxes and a rolling suitcase. She wouldn't look at me. Couldn't look at me. "So this is really happening," I said, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. She paused, her hand hovering over a framed photo of us from last summer. The beach trip, the one where I'd told her I wanted to spend my life with her. She set it face down in the box. "Kevin, I've been honest with you. I need to see if he's the one?" I finished for her, the words tasting like ash. "If your first love, the guy who left you crying on your bathroom floor 5 years ago, is suddenly the man of your dreams now that he's texted you out of nowhere?" Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand what we had." "No, Hailey. I understand exactly what you had. I was the one who held you at 3 in the morning when you couldn't sleep because you were still broken from what he did to you. I was the one who watched you delete his number 17 times before you finally stopped looking for it." She turned to face me then, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Resentment, as if I was the villain in this story for reminding her of the truth. "That was different," she said. "We were young. People change." "Yeah," I said quietly. "They do. I used to believe that love could save anyone. Now I know it can only save people who want to be saved." The first time I met Hailey was at a mutual friend's birthday party 2 months after she'd finally stopped talking about him. His name was Derek, though I didn't know it then. All I knew was that this beautiful woman with sad eyes kept checking her phone every few minutes, as if waiting for a message that would never come. "You waiting for someone?" I'd asked, standing next to her on the balcony. She'd looked up, startled, then smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes for the first time that night. "No, just breaking a bad habit." "Want some help with that?" She'd laughed. "You think you can cure phone addiction?" I was thinking more along the lines of giving you a reason not to check it. We talked until 4 in the morning. She told me about her job as a graphic designer, her dream of opening her own studio, her complicated relationship with her mother. She didn't mention him, not that night. But I could feel his ghost in every careful word she chose, every time she stopped herself from finishing a sentence that might have revealed too much. I fell in love with her anyway. Maybe because of the sadness, not despite it. I wanted to be the one who made her forget whatever pain she was carrying. Our first date was coffee that turned into lunch, that turned into a walk through the city that lasted until the streetlights came on. She told me about Derek on our 3rd date, how they'd met in college, how he'd been her first everything, how he'd promised her the world, and then vanished when his ex-girlfriend came back into his life. "I waited for him," she said, staring into her wine glass. "For 8 months, I actually waited. Turned down dates, ignored my friend's advice, convinced myself he'd realize his mistake." She looked up at me. "Pathetic, right?" "No," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "It's not pathetic to love someone. It's only pathetic if you stop loving yourself in the process." She squeezed my hand. "I like you, Kevin. You're different." Different. At the time, I thought it was a compliment. Later, I'd realize it was a warning. I wasn't him, and some part of her would always wonder if that was a problem. We moved in together after a year. It felt natural, inevitable. She had a drawer at my place that became a closet that became half the apartment. We adopted a cat named Ripley. We argued about whose turn it was to do the dishes, and made love on Sunday mornings with light streaming through the curtains. We built a life. I thought I'd won. Thought I'd finally convinced her that what we had was real, was better than whatever phantom she'd been chasing. I was wrong. Some people think time heals all wounds. The truth is, some wounds just learn to wait. Derek's message came on a Tuesday. I know because Wednesdays were our date nights, and she forgot about ours for the first time in 2 years. I came home from work to find her on the couch, phone in hand, a strange expression on her face. Not quite happy. Not quite sad. Somewhere in between, in that dangerous territory where old feelings live. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting down my briefcase. She jumped, quickly locking her phone. Yes, just old friend reached out. Haven't heard from them in forever." The lie sat between us like a third person in the room. I could have called her out on it, could have demanded to see the phone, to know who had put that look on her face. But I didn't. Because some part of me already knew, and I wasn't ready to face it yet. Over the next few weeks, she changed. Small things at first. She started wearing her hair down instead of up, the way she used to wear it in college, she'd told me once. She bought new clothes, brighter colors than she usually chose. She smiled at her phone in a way that made my stomach twist. And she pulled away from me. Not dramatically. Not in a way I could point to and say, "This is wrong." Just inches at a time. A kiss that lasted a second less. A good night that came earlier. A touch that felt more like habit than desire. "Hailey," I said one night, watching her type on her phone while we were supposed to be watching a movie. "Talk to me." She didn't look up. "You've been distant." "I'm right here, Kevin." "No," I said, my voice harder than I intended. "You're not." She finally looked at me, and in her eyes I saw it. Guilt, which meant I was right to worry. Derek messaged, "Me," she said quietly. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. "When?" "A few weeks ago." "A few weeks." I stood up, needing to move, to do something with the energy suddenly crackling through my body. "And you didn't think to mention it?" "I knew you'd react like this." "React like what? Like someone who cares that his girlfriend is secretly talking to the guy who destroyed her?" "He apologized," she said, standing to face me. "He explained everything. His ex manipulated him, made him think they had a future when she was just using him. He said letting me go was the biggest mistake of his life." I laughed, a bitter sound that didn't feel like it came from me. "And you believe him?" "I don't know what I believe." Her voice rose, defensive. "But I need to find out. I need closure." "Closure?" I repeated. "That's what we're calling it now?" "Kevin, please try to understand." "Understand what?" I stepped closer to her, forcing her to look at me, really look at me. "Understand that the man who loves you, who's been here for 3 years, who knows how you take your coffee and what movie you put on when you're sad, who held you through every nightmare and celebrated every victory, that man isn't enough? Help me understand that, Hailey." Tears streamed down her face. "It's not about you not being enough. It's about me needing to know if I walked away from something real." "You did walk away from something real," I said, my voice breaking. "You're walking away from it right now." She said she needed time. A few weeks, maybe a month, to see Derek, to talk things through, to get the closure she needed. Then she'd come back, and we could start fresh. I could have said no, could have told her that if she left, she shouldn't bother coming back. That's what my pride wanted me to do. But my heart, my stupid, stubborn heart, still believed she'd realize her mistake. "Okay," I said. She looked shocked. "Okay? You want to go? Go, see him, get your closure." I met her eyes, making sure she saw the pain in mine. "But Hailey, understand something. I'm not going to sit here waiting for you like you waited for him. I'm not going to put my life on hold while you figure out if the grass is greener." "I'm not asking you to wait." "Yes, you are. That's exactly what you're asking." I turned away from her, unable to look at her face anymore. Just go. Before I say something we'll both regret. I don't hate her. Hate still means I care. The apartment felt like a tomb after she left. Every room echoed with her absence, her coffee mug in the sink, her book on the nightstand, bookmark still holding her place, the indent on her side of the bed that slowly disappeared as the days passed. My friends tried to help, called me, invited me out, told me I was better off without her. They meant well, but they didn't understand. This wasn't about being better off. This was about loving someone so much that you let them destroy you if that's what they need to do. I threw myself into work, stayed late at the office, took on extra projects, anything to avoid coming home to the silence. My boss noticed, praised my dedication. If only he knew it was just cowardice dressed up as ambition. 2 weeks after she left, I saw her Instagram post, her and Derek at some trendy restaurant downtown, the kind of place she always said was too expensive when I suggested it. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for her birthday. Her smile was radiant. I stared at that photo for an hour, studying every pixel, looking for some sign that she wasn't happy, that she was faking it. But she looked genuinely joyful, like she'd found something she'd been missing. I deleted the app after that, deleted her number too. If she wanted to reach me, she'd find a way, but I wasn't going to torture myself by watching her fall in love with someone else. The call came at 2 a.m, exactly 3 weeks after she'd left. I almost didn't answer. But something made me reach for the phone in the dark. Kevin? Her voice was small, broken. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. Hailey, what's wrong? Can I come over? Please? Every instinct screamed at me to say no, to protect myself, to finally draw the line she'd so carelessly crossed. But I heard something in her voice that overrode all of that. Fear. I'll unlock the door, I said. She arrived 20 minutes later, mascara streaked and shaking. I'd made coffee, her usual order, muscle memory still working even after weeks apart. She took the cup with trembling hands and sat on the edge of the couch, as if afraid to get too comfortable. Tell me what happened, I said, sitting across from her, maintaining distance. She took a breath, then another, trying to find the words. I moved in with him, a week ago. He said it made sense, that we'd wasted so much time already. Why waste more? I waited. Didn't speak. Let her fill the silence. At first it was everything I remembered, everything I dreamed about during those 8 months I waited for him. She looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. But then I started noticing things, small things. The way he'd check his phone constantly and angle it away from me. The way he'd go into another room to take calls. How he always had an excuse when I wanted to meet his friends. My hands tightened around my own coffee cup. Hailey, I found messages on his laptop, she continued, as if she hadn't heard me. He left it open when he went to shower. Messages to another woman, his ex, the same one who he left me for 5 years ago. Jesus Christ. He'd been talking to her the whole time. The whole fucking time, Kevin. Her voice cracked. Even when he was telling me he loved me, that I was the one, that he'd never let me go again. He was making plans with her, telling her I was just a temporary situation until she was ready to commit. I moved to sit beside her, unable to stay away anymore, despite my better judgment. I'm so sorry. She shook her head violently. Don't feel sorry for me. I did this. I threw away what we had for this. For a lie I was too stupid to see through. You're not stupid. Yes, I am. She stood abruptly, pacing the living room like a caged animal. I had everything with you. Everything. You loved me. You were faithful, kind, patient. You built a life with me, and I threw it all away because some ghost from my past sent me a text message and made me feel like I was 22 again." She turned to face me, and the anguish in her expression nearly broke me. When I confronted him tonight, you know what he said? He said I was overreacting, that he was keeping his options open because he wasn't sure I was fully committed. He made it sound like it was my fault, like I drove him to lie because I wasn't enough. "Hailey, and the worst part?" She laughed, a horrible sound full of self-loathing. "The absolute worst part is that I knew. Deep down, I think I always knew. From the first message, from the first lie about who I was texting, I knew this was who he was. But I wanted so desperately to believe in the fantasy, to believe that what we had before was real and worth saving, that I ignored every red flag." She sank back onto the couch, her face in her hands. "I ignored reality for a dream, and in the process, I destroyed the only real thing I ever had." I sat beside her, not touching, just being present. "What do you want me to say?" "Tell me you hate me," she whispered. "Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I deserve this." "I won't do that." "Why not?" She looked at me, anger flashing in her eyes now. "Why are you being so calm? I destroyed us. I chose someone else over you. I left you for a man who was using me the whole time, and you're sitting here like what?" I asked quietly. "Like someone who's been where you are? Who knows what it's like to want something so badly that you ignore the truth? Hailey, I watched you pull away for weeks. I saw the messages, the changes, the distance, and I let you go anyway, because I loved you enough to let you make your own mistakes." "That's so fucking unfair," she said, tears streaming down her face again. You can't be this understanding. You're supposed to be angry. Supposed to throw me out, tell me never to come back." "Is that what you want?" She stared at me for a long moment. "I don't know what I want anymore. I thought I did. I was so sure. And I was wrong about everything." She slept in the guest room that night. I offered to take her home, to Derek's place, but she said she'd already collected her things. All 6 boxes, back again, plus the rolling suitcase. A depressing symmetry. I didn't sleep. Just lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her it would all be okay, that we could fix this. But a larger part of me, the part that had spent 3 weeks learning how to breathe without her, knew that nothing would ever be the same. In the morning, I found her in the kitchen, making coffee. Our old routine, like the last 3 weeks, had never happened. Except everything had happened, and we both knew it. "I need to ask you something," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "And I need you to be honest." She nodded, not meeting my eyes. "When you left, when you chose to see him, was there any part of you that believed you'd come back to me?" She was quiet for so long I thought she might not answer. Then, "Yes. I thought I could have both. The closure with him and the future with you. I thought I could see him, realize he wasn't what I remembered, and come back to you grateful for what we had. But that's not what happened. No." She finally looked at me. I fell back into it, into the fantasy of who he was, who we were. I let myself believe in a story that never existed. And by the time I realized the truth, I'd already thrown away the real story. I used to believe that love conquers all. Now I know that sometimes love just conquers you. The days that followed were strange. Hailey stayed in the guest room, looking for a new apartment, trying to rebuild her life from the wreckage she'd created. We were polite to each other, careful, like 2 strangers sharing a space, rather than 2 people who'd once shared everything. But something had shifted in me during those 3 weeks alone. I'd learned how to exist without her, had started to imagine a future that didn't include her in it. And now, watching her move through our apartment like a ghost of what we used to be, I realized something important. I didn't want her back. Not like this. Not broken and desperate and full of regrets. Not as a consolation prize because her first choice had imploded. I'd spent 3 years being her safe harbor, her comfort, her second chance at love. And she'd thrown it away the moment something shinier appeared on the horizon. I deserved better than that. I deserved to be someone's first choice, not their backup plan. "I'm going to start apartment hunting this weekend," she said one evening, hovering in the doorway of my office. "I should be out of your hair within a month." "Take your time," I said, not looking up from my computer. "There's no rush." "Kevin." She stepped into the room. "Can we talk? Aren't we talking now? Really talk, about us." I finally looked at her. She was wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, the one she used to steal constantly. It should have made me feel something. Nostalgia, affection, longing. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a dull ache where love used to live. "What about us?" I asked. Is there any chance we could try again?" The hope in her voice was painful to hear. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I love you, Kevin. I've loved you this whole time. I was just confused." "Confused," I repeated. "That's what we're calling it. I made a mistake. A terrible, awful mistake. But people make mistakes. Isn't that what you told me once? That love means forgiving mistakes? There's a difference between making a mistake and making a choice, Hailey." I stood, needing to create physical distance. You didn't trip and fall into his bed. You didn't accidentally move in with him. You made a series of deliberate choices, every single one of them choosing him over me. "I'm choosing you now." "No," I said firmly. "You're settling for me. Because he didn't work out. Because your fantasy crashed and burned. But if he'd been different, if he'd actually been the man you thought he was, you wouldn't be standing here asking for another chance." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed, that bitter sound becoming familiar now. "You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I spent 3 years proving my love to you, and the moment he texted, you questioned everything we built? Is it fair that I had to watch you light up over messages from another man? That I had to help you pack your things and pretend I was okay with you leaving? Tell me, Hailey, which part of any of this has been fair?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I know I hurt you." "Hurt me?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "You didn't hurt me. Hurt is when someone accidentally steps on your foot. What you did was look me in the eyes and choose to break me. You took 3 years of love and trust and threw them away for a fantasy. And now you want me to just forgive that? To pretend it didn't happen and go back to how things were?" "I don't want to pretend it didn't happen," she said desperately. "I want to acknowledge it, learn from it, be better. I want to prove to you that I can be the person you deserve." But that's just it. I moved closer to her, making sure she heard every word. "You already were that person. For 3 years, you were exactly who I needed. And it still wasn't enough. The moment your past came calling, I became invisible. So what's going to happen next time someone makes you feel young again, or desired, or whatever it was he made you feel? There won't be a next time. You can't promise that, because you couldn't even see it happening this time. You thought you were just getting closure, just talking to an old friend. And you ended up leaving me for him. How am I supposed to trust that you won't do it again?" She had no answer to that. Because we both knew I was right. She found an apartment 2 weeks later, a small studio across town, close to her work. We barely spoke during those final days. What was left to say? All the important conversations had been had, all the damage already done. The day she moved out, I helped carry boxes to her car. The same boxes I'd watched her pack twice now. As she loaded the last one into her trunk, she turned to me with red-rimmed eyes. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything. You deserved so much better than what I gave you." "Yeah," I agreed. "I did." She waited, as if expecting more. An invitation to stay in touch. Assurance that we could be friends someday. Hope for some future reconciliation. But I gave her none of those things. Just stood there, hands in my pockets, watching her realize that this was really the end. "Goodbye, Kevin," she whispered. "Goodbye, Hailey." I watched her drive away, her car disappearing around the corner, taking the last 3 years with it. And I felt relief. Like a weight I'd been carrying had finally been lifted. I used to believe in second chances. Now I know that some chances, once wasted, can't be reclaimed. 6 months passed. 6 months of healing, of rebuilding, of learning who I was without her. I got a promotion at work, started going to the gym regularly, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the relationship, went on a few dates that didn't go anywhere, but that was okay. I wasn't looking for anything serious. Not yet. The wound she'd left had scarred over, but the scar tissue was tough. Resilient. I was different now, more cautious with my heart, less willing to ignore red flags in the name of love, more protective of my peace. I ran into Derek one night at a bar downtown. He was with a woman. Not Hailey, not his ex. Someone new. He saw me, and for a moment, something like shame flickered across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by false confidence. "Kevin, right?" he said, as if we were old acquaintances. "How have you been, man?" "Fine," I said shortly. "Listen, about the whole thing with Hailey, I don't want to hear it. I just wanted to say, no hard feelings, yeah? These things happen. People reconnect, feelings resurface. Wasn't personal." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw exactly what Hailey had fallen for. The easy charm, the practiced smile, the complete lack of depth behind the attractive facade. And I felt sorry for whoever his current companion was, because she was next in line for the same treatment. "You're right," I said. "It wasn't personal, because to make it personal, you'd have to actually be capable of caring about someone other than yourself. And we both know that's not happening." His smile faltered. "Hailey made a mistake choosing you," I continued. "But her biggest mistake was thinking you were worth giving up something real for. You're not a person, Derek. You're a lesson. And I'm grateful I learned it before I wasted any more time." I walked away before he could respond, feeling lighter than I had in months. The knock on my door came late on a Thursday night, 8 months after Hailey had moved out. I'd been watching TV, half asleep on the couch when the sound jarred me awake. Through the peephole, I saw her. Older somehow, despite the few months. Thinner. Sadder. But determined. I considered not opening it, considered pretending I wasn't home, that I'd moved on so completely, that she couldn't even find me anymore. But curiosity won out. "Hailey," I said, opening the door but not inviting her in. "Hi." She clutched her purse like a lifeline. "I know I shouldn't be here. I know you probably don't want to see me, but I needed to tell you something." "I'm listening." She took a breath. "I've been in therapy since I moved out, working through everything. Why I made the choices I made. Why I couldn't see what I had until I lost it." I waited. My therapist helped me understand something. I was chasing a feeling, not a person. the feeling of being young and new and undefined. Derek represented a time in my life before I'd made mistakes, before I'd failed at things, before I knew how hard life could be. Being with him was like trying to rewind time. And being with me? I asked. Being with you was real life, adult life, the good parts and the hard parts, the commitment and the compromise. And I think part of me was scared of that, scared of growing up fully, of accepting that youth is gone and this is who I am now. She met my eyes. But I've learned something in therapy. I've learned that real love isn't about recapturing the past. It's about building a future. And I destroyed the best future I could have had. Why are you telling me this, Hailey? Because you deserved an explanation. Not the excuses I gave you before, but the real truth about why I hurt you. She wiped at her eyes. And because I wanted you to know that I finally understand what I lost. Not just the relationship, but the man. You were the best thing in my life, Kevin. And I was too busy looking backward to see it. For a moment, I almost weakened. Almost invited her in, made her coffee, listened to everything she'd learned in therapy. Almost gave her that second chance she was clearly hoping for. But then I remembered. Remembered the 3 weeks of torture. Remembered the Instagram photo. Remembered the careful way she'd folded my heart into pieces before walking away. And I knew that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I appreciate you telling me, I said carefully. And I'm glad you're working on yourself. You deserve to be happy, Hailey. You deserve to figure out who you are and what you want. Hope sparked in her eyes. Kevin, but that journey doesn't include me. I said it gently, but firmly. What we had is over. Not because I don't care about you, but because I care about myself more. I've spent the last 8 months learning how to be whole without you, and I'm not going to undo that work. The hope died. In its place, acceptance. Sad, painful acceptance. I understand, she whispered. I had to try. Had to see if maybe. I know. And I did, because once upon a time I would have done the same thing. She nodded, backing away from the door. Take care of yourself, Kevin. You deserve everything good. So do you, I said. And I meant it. I watched her walk away for the second time, but this time felt different. This time I wasn't watching her leave. I was letting her go. There's a difference. Life moved on. It always does, whether we're ready or not. I dated someone new. Emma, a teacher I met at a friend's wedding. It was casual at first, neither of us looking for anything serious. But it grew into something real. Something healthy. Something that didn't require me to compete with ghosts or prove my worth constantly. Emma knew about Hailey. I'd been honest from the start, told her about the betrayal and the aftermath. She'd listened without judgment, then said something that stuck with me. The thing about baggage is that it's only heavy if you keep carrying it around. At some point, you have to set it down and walk away. She was right. So I did. I stopped checking Hailey's social media, stopped wondering how she was doing or if she was happy, stopped caring about Derek and whatever game he was playing with whatever new victim he'd found. I let go of the anger, the bitterness, the what-ifs that had haunted me for months. And in that space where those feelings used to live, something new grew. Peace, self-respect, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. Some people think moving on means forgetting. The truth is, you never really forget. You just stop letting it define you. 2 years after Hailey first left, I saw her one final time. I was at a coffee shop with Emma, laughing about something stupid, when I spotted Hailey at a table near the window. She was alone, working on her laptop, looking focused and content. Different from the last time I'd seen her. She looked up, our eyes met, and for a moment the past hung between us. All the love and pain and regrets and lessons. Then she smiled, a genuine smile, the kind that says, "I'm happy for you," and returned to her laptop. I squeezed Emma's hand and turned back to our conversation, leaving the past where it belonged. Behind me. Because the story of Kevin and Hailey ended the day she chose to leave. Everything after was just epilogue. And my real story, the one about a man who learned his worth and refused to settle for less, was just beginning. I don't spend time wondering what would have happened if she'd never left. Don't torture myself with alternate timelines where she chose differently. Because in every version of that story, I would have remained the safe choice, the comfortable option, the man she settled for. In this version, the one where she left and broke my heart, I became the man who knew better, who understood that love without trust is just a word, that commitment without loyalty is just an empty promise, that you can't build a future with someone who's still living in their past. She wanted to go back to her first lover. I let her, and the moment it happened, she regretted her decision. But by then, I'd already moved on to someone who didn't need to lose me to appreciate me. Someone who chose me first, every single day, without hesitation or doubt. And that made all the difference. The funny thing about closure is that it doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from yourself, the moment you decide that the hurt stops here. That this is where you plant your flag and say, "No more." I planted my flag the day I told Hailey we were done. Really done. Not, "We'll see," or "Maybe someday," or "Let's stay in touch." Just done. And in doing so, I finally set myself free. I am no longer the man who waited while someone decided if he was worth keeping. I am the man who walked away when staying would have destroyed what was left of his dignity. I am no longer the man who measured his worth by someone else's choice. I am the man who chose himself. Finally, when no one else would. That's the story I tell now. Not the sad tale of a man betrayed, but the powerful truth of a man who survived and became stronger for it. Hailey taught me many things during our time together. She taught me what real love looks like. Those 3 years before Derek came back were some of the best of my life. She taught me patience and compromise and how to build a life with another person. But the most important lesson came after she left. She taught me that I am enough. Not because someone chose me, but because I chose myself. And that's a lesson worth any amount of pain.